And were you guys paying attention to this Young Dolph murder trial? I didn't get a chance to see it, but I did see the sentencing hearing where Justin Johnson, who ended up going to trial, was found guilty and the judge sentenced him to life in prison. And it just set in that this is just such a tragic story that could have been avoided on so many different fronts. And you ask yourself, like, how does this even happen? Like, why? How do we get here? Right. And so, as far as the case, I mean, the DA, they don't have to prove motive, right? We hear about motive a lot when you watch crime shows, whether it's Law and Order or uh, NCIS or CSI. They talk about motive, but a DA doesn't have to prove motive in a case. But in this case, we did get the motive, and it turns out that it was just money, right? So Justin Johnson was the guy that went to trial. His co-defendant actually reached a deal with the government and took a stand. So he basically snitched on his boy, who wasn't really his boy because they only knew each other for like 3 months. And then you had the other guy that was involved, Hernandez Govan, who had reached some sort of agreement with the prosecutor. He did what's called a proffer session. And that's when you sit down with the prosecution and the agents or the officers that were investigating in the case, and you just sit down and say everything that you have to say, and then they have an opportunity to question you, and you ideally reach an agreement where they can give you less time. So he ended up doing that, and that's how we got the insight on what was the reason or how Young Dolph ended up getting killed. And so apparently Yo Gotti, so Yo Gotti's brother, Big Jook, had put out a hit on Young Dolph for $100,000, right? And why did he put a hit out on Young Dolph? Well, it seems as though, Yo Gotti wanted to sign Young Dolph as an artist. And you think, like, man, like over that, that's why this guy had to get taken out. Cause Young Dolph didn't want to sign to Yo Gotti, right? And Young Dolph obviously went on with Paper Route Empire and had his own artists and went independent and ended up making millions and made a name for himself. But when Yo Gotti wanted to sign him, he wasn't the Young Dolph who he blew up to be. He was, he was making his mixtapes and everything, but I don't think he was a millionaire at that point. Like, he was on his come up, but believed in himself enough to be like, nah, I don't want to be signed to you. I'm trying to do my own thing. And even myself as a business owner, you see talent in people, and you're like, man, I'd love to have you come and work with me. And I've had that conversation with even lawyers. Hey, would you be interested in a job? They might be doing contract work for me, writing a motion here or there, or making a court appearance when I'm in another courthouse. And you're like, man, I like the way you move. I like your professionalism. I'd like for you to come on and work with me. And they're like, nah, I'm doing my own thing. I'm placing my bet on myself. And you're like, okay, that's cool. I mean, like, I get it. Obviously I've been working for myself for a while, so I get that entrepreneur spirit, entrepreneurial hustle. But I guess if you have that big of an ego and you just can't take no for an answer, that could turn into beef. And I just think that's tragic. Like, you're sitting on millions and you're beefing with somebody because they don't want to do business with you. Now, there might be other street stuff that was involved that I don't know about and we don't know about, but it seemed that was the reason why they had problems. And so then you had, diss tracks that were going back and forth, and some of the, lines, it just went a bit too far, got a little too personal. And you always hear rappers talk about, hey, listen, as long as we can keep it on wax, it's cool, because, nobody wants to compromise their lives, right? Nobody wants to compromise the money that they're getting. Let's just keep it on wax. But apparently, this went beyond that, right? Because in 2017, there were two separate attempts on Young Dolph's life. And obviously he survived those. But when it came to what happened in November of 2021, unfortunately, he couldn't shake that. And you come to learn that this guy, Justin Johnson, who was a rapper himself by the name of Straight Drop. I haven't heard any of his music. I don't know if he's good or not. It doesn't matter now, because you're in prison. You'll be in prison for the rest of your life, and you'll be doing what the prison talent show, right? You get to rap in prison. but you blew your opportunity. And again, for what? For a couple of dollars. And we learned that basically Big Jook had brought him down to Atlanta, brought Justin Johnson down to Atlanta, and basically under the idea that you can come to Atlanta and we'll see about signing you to CMG. And you can only imagine, man, you're doing bad in the hood, and you're seeing dollar signs, you're seeing cars, you're seeing designer clothes, you're seeing the jewelry, you're seeing the women, you're seeing just, man, these dudes can change my life, right? And as he's going thinking, all right, man, I'm nice on the mic. This is why they want to sign me. They have in the back of their mind, man, we got somebody who can do this work for us, right? And so it wasn't just, oh, we're trying to sign you based on your skills. We need you to put this work in, right? We need you to do this for us, and then we can sign you. And yeah, there's some money involved. We're gonna, it's gonna be $100,000, right? But we need you to take this dude out. We need you to take this dude out. We got problems with this dude, and we need you to take him out. And he did it. He was down to do it. And that's, as I think about that, as you listen to Cornelius Smith testify, and you listen, and it just seems so, hey, this is what we're doing. I was just trying to get money. I needed money, right? It just is just so tragic on all accounts, right? And man, when you think about this being the way it went down, and when you heard him testify, and he's saying, as they pull up, right, because they were actually going to get him when he was doing a turkey drive, right? So they knew where he was going to be at a turkey drive of all places. Young Dolph was known to be generous. He gave back to his hood, and he was actually going to do a turkey drive, and that's where they were planning on killing him. But they ended up seeing his Corvette. They saw him driving around in his Corvette. It was one of the newer Corvettes. It was camouflage wrapped, so it had to be him. And they see him pulling up to the cookie spot, and that's where they shot him. And Cornelius testified. He said, listen, I don't know how many times I shot him. I just know I was shooting through the glass, and I just don't know how many times I hit him. And he was asked, well, how did you feel about it? And the answer was just shocking, because he was like, I didn't really feel anything. I was just there to get money. And I just, it's hard to imagine, where you have to go in your mind, and how you see the world, and how you see people who look like you, to be able to not feel anything as you're putting bullets in him. And, whether you knew specifically who his family was or not, it's fair to assume that he might have a fiance, and he did have a fiance. He has kids. He has other label mates. He has people who love him, people who adore him, fans, all these people. And even if he had nobody, right? Even if he had nobody, him just deserving to live and not deserving to die. And as you take his life, you don't feel anything at all. But now your life is over. Justin's life is over. Dolph's life is over. And all over, in the end, Cornelius said he only got $800. He was supposed to get 40, so they were supposed to divide it up in 3 ways, right? We said that already. He was supposed to divide it up in 3 ways. He only got $800. And now your life is over $800. Like, and, as a defense attorney, as you sit down with somebody, at least for me, like, I don't judge my clients. It's not my role. I'm here to protect your constitutional rights, make sure you get treated fairly within the system. But, without judging, you can ask, and, why? Like, what were you thinking? Like, why? Because there's still an opportunity just in life outside of your case for you to somehow find a way to answer that question for yourself, so you can figure out what changes do you need to make to salvage your own life. whether you're out of custody or in, because whatever was going on with you that allows you to take another man's life absolutely needs to be healed. And so, yeah, just I wonder if you guys had the same reaction. I mean, just on a level of seeing another young black man killed, another man who operates in in this art form we all love as a rapper, um, and this it just being the most dangerous profession in America. When is it going to stop? When are we gonna actually be able to see each other in ourselves? When are we going to be able to recognize the God that we're made in the image of God, and respect that and honor that, and just value life more? I just want to know when.